Today, we are still going to focus on theme. However, we are going to break apart what we actually did with theme, and let's talk also about what it means to infer and quote from the text accurately. We are going to do all of this while working on the literary element of theme. So, what you will need before we get started is the story that you read yesterday. It was your assignment that you were to upload in Schoology. The article that you read, or the passage or story, was The House of 1,000 Mirrors. So please make sure that you have your assignment from yesterday pulled up so that you are able to go over your answers and follow along with what we are doing today. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do so now. Before we get started, let's reread the story, The House of 1,000 Mirrors. Then we'll go through your organizer from yesterday to see where you're at. While we're going over the organizer, we will make sure that we are understanding what parts we did to infer and what parts we did to quote from the text. The House of 1,000 Mirrors. Long ago, in a small, faraway village, there was a place known as the House of 1,000 Mirrors. A small, happy little dog learned of this place and decided to visit. When he arrived, he bounced happily up the stairs to the doorway of the house. He looked through the doorway with his ears lifted high and his tail wagging as fast as it could. To his great surprise, he found himself staring at 1,000 other happy little dogs with their tails wagging just as fast as his. He smiled a great smile and was answered with 1,000 great smiles just as warm and friendly. As he left the house, he thought to himself, "This is a wonderful place. I will come back and visit often." In this same village, another little dog, who was not quite as happy as the first one, decided to visit the house. He slowly climbed the stairs and hung his head low as he looked into the door. When he saw the 1,000 unfriendly-looking dogs staring back at him, he growled at them and was horrified to see 1,000 little dogs growling back at him. As he left, he thought to himself, "That is a horrible place, and I will never go back there again." All right, let's take a look. Below your assignment yesterday, The House of 1,000 Mirrors, you had an organizer that looked like this. Let's talk about it. In red, I have the answers, so we can go over and see how you did. Now, the S was already filled in for you. Some big topics or subjects that were mentioned in the story mentioned dogs, outlooks, and mirrors. We need to decide which one of these three actually fits the subject or the big idea of what the author wanted us to learn. I am going to say that yes, the story was about dogs, but that's not what the author wanted us to learn. And yes, the story was about mirrors. Again, not what the story or what the author wanted us to learn about the story. Outlook sounds like something I would learn. So let's take a look. The L is next. What lesson did the main character or the reader learn about the topic? We just thought that the topic was outlook. So what did the author or the reader learn about an outlook? We decide that the reader learns that the dog's personality traits affect their opinion of the house. For example, the first dog that went in thought, "Wow, this is a great place. All I see are 1,000 dogs smiling back at me." But unfortunately, the second dog, who was a little unhappy, went in and he saw a lot of crabby faces. So his opinion in the end was he never wanted to see that house again. So we have to infer that something here. We have to infer that we know that the personality traits affected what they saw in the mirror, but what can we infer about that, or what can we guess about that? So this is making an inference. In the story, the author doesn't tell us what we infer. We're trying to infer what the author is trying to say. Perhaps the author is trying to say that a person's outlook influences their opinion. I know that if I go back to the last page, it doesn't say that anywhere in the story. That's because I used evidence from the story to support what I think the author is trying to say. This is your inference. If we move to that last box, this is your support. This is your evidence. This is where you put your quotes and quote from the text. Two important ideas that support that the author is trying to say that a person's outlook influences their opinion is one, the happy dog views the house as a joyous, friendly place, and the unhappy dog views the house as a scary, horrible place. Let's take a look. I want you to practice now. Yes, we are finding theme, and we did that. But while finding theme, we needed to be able to make an inference, the I am section of the organizer, and we had to support our inference with details from the story. Here's my quotes from the text, put in my own words, of course, paraphrased in my own words. What you're going to do today now is give it a try again, just like you did yesterday. But I want you thinking about, with a focus in mind, with this next story, I want you thinking about, what do I have to make a guess, I have to make an inference, and I need to make sure I'm pulling apart important support from the story, evidence from the story. Your story today will be called Grandmother's Table. So what you'll do is you'll read Grandmother's Table, a story of the Brothers Grimm. And once you are done, you will fill out the graphic organizer just like we did yesterday and upload that back to Schoology.